Well, hello and good evening to everybody out there joining us live on the internet. My name is Chuck Cassidy, and thank you for tuning in to this Anker SOLIX special live chat, live stream that we're doing here on our channel. I'm a brand ambassador for Anker SOLIX. I've been working with them since 2022 when it was then called the Powerhouse lineup of portable power stations was first released, and I've been with them since into the evolution of the SOLIX product family and all of the new awesome products that have come out since then. And today is a very special day because we are going to be doing a live introduction of the newest member of the Anker SOLIX family. That is the Anker SOLIX F3800 Plus. And I'm coming to you today live from a slightly off-grid location in the woods. I was hoping to showcase its unique solar power handling capabilities, but you know, you can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Before we get too far, I want to give you a brief rundown of what we're going to be covering today. We're going to start off, I'm going to give you some of the key features and changes that the F3800 Plus has over the previous model, the F3800. I will then go through some exclusive deals that are available now as we launch this product, that are available to you and to people who have maybe already purchased the original F3800 to help you get up to speed with the latest and greatest technology. And then after that, we will go ahead and do a live Q&A. I've also got a selection of questions pulled from the Anker SOLIX community over there on Facebook. We'll answer those, work our way through that. I'll showcase a few of the products, show you how we've got these panels wired up to take advantage of the new higher voltage solar panel input on the F3800 Plus. And then I'll share with you a discount code that's an exclusive deal for anybody tuning into this live stream at the very end. So looks like we have a couple people. Where are you joining us from? Put it in there in the live chat and let me know if the audio or visual is not coming through as cleanly as it should. I know we are in a remote location connecting via satellite, so the video may be a bit jumpy, but the connection appears strong. All right, so as we get going here, I think we'll get started by doing an overview of the new F3800 Plus. We're going to talk about the essential specifications of it, and then we'll dive into what sets it apart from the previous model, which is the F3800. And both of these are very capable models, and they are both products that offer unique features that are not met, as far as I'm aware, by anything else in the industry when it comes to their ability to integrate into your whole home's electrical system for automatic backup, for time of use, billing, so you can store energy when it's cheap and then use it to power your house later when it's more expensive on peak, and for their ability to use AC coupling to seamlessly blend it all in. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as the live stream continues. But let's start off, let's get into the basic stats of the new F3800 Plus. So the F3800 Plus is the same form factor as the original F3800. It is roughly the size of a water cooler. I've got it propped up on a log here so it can be in the shot with me. But it's roughly the size of the water cooler. The new model weighs just about 2 pounds more than the original. I think it comes in at 134 pounds, right around then. So it's definitely a very heavy item. But when you add in the fact that it's got a 3.84 kilowatt hour battery built into it, in addition to a 6,000 watt AC inverter that's capable of handling up to 9,000 watts of peak loading, suddenly it's actually not that heavy when you add it all up. But objectively, it is a very, massive unit. But that's what it takes if you want to be able to provide backup to a whole home. So over here on the front, we've got our USB ports. We've got three 100 watt capable USB-C ports here, and then we have two 15 watt capable USB-A ports. Over here on the left side, we have a car outlet, and that's capable of up to 120 watts or 10 amps of 12 volt DC output. And these are the same specs and the same ports that you would find on the original F3800. Additionally, we've got our main on-off button. We have a display button here. And then we have our IoT device button. So this is for connecting via Bluetooth or to Wi-Fi so that you can sync this up with the Anker app, where you'll get a lot of monitoring and control functionality that's really useful. And frankly, it makes using this a lot easier. If this is something running your house, maybe it's in your basement and you want to be able to see what it's doing, you don't have to go downstairs. You can just log onto the app and see exactly what's going on. If we come around to this side, this is where both sides have actually had quite a bit of changes. On this side, we have the home power panel input, and that's on both models. And what's changed is right below that, we now have a different style of AC input connector. And the previous model used XT60 style connectors, whereas this new model, it uses Anker's own model of connector. And the reason for that is because these solar inputs can now accept up to 165 volts of DC power. Now, there comes this, and this was a decision made by Anker to protect the safety of people who are using this. Generally, it's accepted that if you get over 60 volts, that's the voltage at which stray voltage, if you experience it, could potentially become dangerous or even deadly. And if you have panels wired up in series high enough that you're coming in at 165 volts, it's actually possible with an XT60 connector, if your fingers were wet or whatever, to accidentally bridge those contactors. And that is a real safety concern, because this is something designed to be not only suitable for a competent DIYer, but also accessible for somebody who has maybe no experience with solar electricity. So I'm sure the engineers have other reasons, but I know that in an interview that I had with an engineer and a product designer over there at Anker, they told me that this was the main reason why the input voltage had been limited on the old models, was because the XT60 connector, in their view, wasn't safe enough. So we've got that, and that means, you know, frankly, because we can come in at a higher voltage, these MPPTs can now handle 1600 watts of solar output each, whereas the previous model was only 1200. So over the course of both of these outputs, that's an additional 800 watts of solar input that you're able to take in with the F3800 Plus. And that's a really useful feature, especially if you're in a totally off-grid setting where these are connected to, say, a rigid permanent mounted solar panel array. That's going to let you harvest more energy day after day. Below that, just like on the previous model, we go back to some similarities. We've got the expansion battery port here. And then if you'll look below that, we have another accessory port that is not present on the old models. And this will be for connecting to a generator. That's going to be something that Anker is going to be announcing in more detail in the coming months. It will be out this year, and that's going to give you an even more seamless way of adding backup capability to the F3800 Plus. So definitely stay tuned for information on that as the year progresses. If we come over to this side here, and I'll do my best to rotate it on the stump. We'll see if it even comes in. I'm not sure if it is entirely, but instead of having a 220 volt 50 amp plug here as the main plug on the AC side, it is now a 30 amp 120 volt plug. And some people were upset to see that 50 amp plug go, but the truth is that this unit on its own is not capable of putting out 50 amps. That was really installed there to make connecting an RV easier. Well, most RVs now aren't using a 50 amp plug, and if you're going to be plugging in an RV that needs that much power, frankly, a 50 amp plug can pull 12,000 watts, and that could drain this very fast. It's not a good choice for efficient off-grid use. So Anker has decided to move that to a 30 amp 125 volt plug to make that easier for plugging into RVs that have a more appropriately sized electrical system. So you're not losing any capacity by not having that plug on here, especially because right here we have the NEMA 14L30, which is a 240 volt plug capable of 25 amps on each leg of that, which will get you all of the available power that this can put out safely into whatever 220 volt source that may be. So if you have a motorhome, if you have a device that used the old style of 50 amp connector with the big blades, you can get an adapter and plug that into this NEMA 14L30 port and have the safety of a locking connector and still be able to tap into all of the available power there. So it's not really, you're not missing out on any features, and really Anker has just gone and made it so that this is easier to connect to other types of RVs in addition to the kind that would typically use a 50 amp plug. Going down on this side, it's the exact same as the original F3800. We've got our 6 20 amp AC receptacles here, and the front ones will operate as an uninterruptible power supply, meaning if this is plugged into grid power and you have devices connected to that, in the event the grid goes down and these are on, the switchover time is quick enough that most sensitive electronic devices will stay powered on, and that's a really key feature for a lot of people. if we turn it back here, I want to talk about another feature. I don't know if you'll be able to see it here, but if you want to connect an EV for charging, it's as simple as double tapping the AC button here. And that will enable, you can't really see in the video, but there is a little car icon that pops up there. And what that does is it bonds the neutral and ground on that NEMA 1430L port or L1430 port. So if you connect it to a stage 2 EV charger or a level 2 EV charger, you don't need any additional adapters or hardware to satisfy the grounding requirements of what that device is going to want to see before it sends power to your car. And that's a very handy feature if this is something that you want to use. You know, you could use this in conjunction with a few solar panels if you're on a camping trip to, you know, potentially repower your car while you're out there enjoying yourself. So when you go to leave, you have a fuller battery and you can make it back out of the sticks into your home. Other than that, the device itself is largely unchanged. You still have the very high power AC inverter section, and you have the compatibility with the home power panel. And that's really, in my view, what sets this apart from a lot of the other competitors out there. The home power panel is a device that lets this integrate to your home's existing power system, either by directly supplying power to the main breaker panel or by adding a secondary breaker panel that functions as like your critical loads panel. And what this will do is during the day, you can program it to operate according to different modes of operation. But during the day, if you have time of use metering, it will recharge itself when electricity is cheap. And then when it switches to peak billing, it will run your home off of that stored cheap electricity so that every day you're saving a little bit of money. You can also integrate it with grid-tied permanently mounted solar panels your house may already have, and also other solar panels that are directly connected to the F3800 Plus. And you can program it to then primarily rely on using as much of that power that's coming in for free from your solar panels as possible before resorting to the grid. And you can really custom tailor this to save yourself money over time. And that's something that a lot of backup systems, especially something like a generator, can just never do. And I've had an F3800, not the Plus, although I do have the Plus now at my home. I had the original F3800 with 3,000 watts of grid-tied solar, and I was already saving around $30 a month with my grid-tied solar array, but by adding the F3800 with a home power panel and taking advantage of time of use metering, I've cut my electrical bill by another almost $40 a month. So I'm basically not spending any money. And that's really great. And that's just based on the difference of price between peak and off-peak hours at my home in Denver, Colorado. And that will vary by market, and your repayment period may vary as well. But at least for me, that means, you know, in about 8 years, assuming there's no inflation, and we know there will be some, in 8 years, my system will have not only been there to give me backup power, but it will also have paid for itself. And it gives me all the backups of a small generator without any of the maintenance costs. And I mean, for me, that's a really great proposition. If you're looking for a backup solution that's not going to be as invasive of an install as like a power wall or something like that. So looks like we're about to the point where I can start answering some questions, but I want to go ahead and cover some details here about deals that are happening that you should be aware of if this is something you're interested in. So right now we're in the launch period. That's from the 12th to the 20th. The launch price of the 3800 Plus is $3,199. If you order it now during the launch period, you'll get a free portable solar panel. That's what you see behind me here. The one in the back left is actually an old model of solar panel. What you would be getting is one of these up here. They're 400 watt flexible panels. They're pretty awesome. They're really great if, you know, you're using it as a backup source and you don't already have solar panels out there. Having the ability to quickly deploy 400 watts of solar can mean the difference between making it through an extended, you know, grid down scenario that might last multiple days and then also running out of juice, you know. So we have that going on. Also, right now during the launch period, if you buy it in this window, you can get the generator power adapter for only 49 bucks. It's normally $249. And I want to show you what that looks like. One of the biggest changes, aside from the improved solar input handling capability on the new F3800 Plus, is the addition of the generator adapter, which is this device here. And what it does is, in the past, if you wanted to charge the Anker SOLIX F3800 off of a generator, it'd have to be a 120 volt generator. And that's fine, but you're limited on options, and it's going to really limit how much power you can run off of this device, because we didn't support at the time pass-through power. Pass-through power is where power coming in from your source, say your generator, is directly connected to the loads that are being powered by the F3800, so that the F3800 is not powering those loads itself. It's just passing that straight through. It then takes the remaining power based on what you say the capacity is of the generator and charges your batteries with what's left over. This is a much more efficient solution, and we have unlocked it by using this generator adapter. And I'll bring it up there, see if you can focus in a little bit on that. There it is in the waning hours. So on this end, we have a plug. This is the home power panel or home power port plug type. And on this side, we have our NEMA L1430 240 volt locking AC plug. So when you want to connect a generator to your F3800, this just goes in right here into the home panel port of your F3800 Plus, just like that. I'll go ahead and connect it there. Hopefully you don't fall off our stump. And then the other end of this will connect into your generator. And you'll be prompted in the app to enter some settings about your generator so it can optimize its performance. And that means you have now whatever's being plugged into the F3800 will be ran by the generator, with any remaining capacity of the generator being used to charge the battery in the F3800 Plus. If you're connected to a home power panel, which would use this port, the second port on the home power panel is what you would then plug in your generator adapter cord, so that you could incorporate a generator into a smart home power system like what you would have with the home power panel in the F3800 Plus. So lots of details there. This is a very powerful cord in terms of what it unlocks for you. And if you order it during the launch window, you can get it for 49 bucks instead of $249, and that's a great deal. And then another add-on for people who don't have this smart home power kit and a home power panel, you can get a transfer switch, which will allow you to connect your F3800 Plus to a house just like you would with a generator. You lose all of the smart features, but you still retain all of the core backup functionality that really, is the bedrock of what makes this system good. You retain all of that, and it's only $100 right now to get that transfer switch. So it's quite a bit cheaper and a much simpler install than installing the smart home power panel. That's a job that's probably best left to an electrician, whereas installing a transfer switch is something that could potentially be done by a competent DIYer. So some great accessories there, and those are all available at a steep discount if you purchase the F3800 Plus during the launch period, which is right now. All right. During the live streaming right now, if you want a special promo code to get an additional 5% off, if you have a purchase exceeding $3,000, and this is from the 19th right now until the 20th right now, so it's a 24-hour code. That promo code is F3800 PCK5. So that's F3800 Papa Charlie Kilo 5. And if you enter that promo code at checkout, you'll get an additional 5% off any orders exceeding $3,000. So I'll say it one more time. That's F3800 PCK5. That promo code will get you an additional 5% off if you order between now, this is March 19th at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and tomorrow, March 20th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So now that we've covered all of that, I want to go ahead and address some of the comments that we have coming in. And I'm going to go ahead and change these camera settings a bit too, because it is getting dark here at the old dark in these woods. There we go. That's a little better. Yeah, can everybody see me a little better there? Okay. So let's take a look at some questions we have coming in, and I also have a selection of questions that were submitted by people in our Facebook groups. if you're interested in Anker SOLIX products, definitely check us out on Facebook if you're on Facebook. That community is very active, and Anker does a lot to make sure that they are active in that, to answer questions if you're having an issue with the product, if you want to know if something will work. There's a lot of people in there who have done a lot of experimenting with these products on their own to see what's possible and use them in creative ways. So that's a great resource for you if you're considering purchasing something like this, and maybe you want to dive a little deeper and see what's available. So let's take a look at some questions we have coming in for this live chat, and then I'll also answer a few that we had from those groups. And thank you everybody who's tuned into this so far. It's really fun to be able to showcase this product to you and do it live. There's a lot of great improvements that I'm glad Anker incorporated into here that shows that they were listening to what people wanted. So, all right, so the first question we have is from Road Trip Lover. Any chance the combo plugs for additional batteries will be changed to an L shape so they don't stick out so much and take up less space? I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, the expansion batteries sit on top of each other. They stack really nicely, but the cords that come out, they do take up space here on the side just because they are so thick and they are capable of powering, handling so much current. I do not know off the top of my head, and I haven't heard any rumblings of the style of those changing. I would assume that that is something that the engineers, of course, are aware of, but changing a connector like that is rather challenging because having some slack there is essential for preventing strain on those connections. And so it's a balance between making something that is small, everything is a compromise, between making something that's small and something that is durable and offers a little bit of strain relief in case that battery gets tilted, because these batteries also weigh a lot. And if that battery is not put on straight or something like that and it pulls on the cable, that's going to create a lot of strain. So I'm sure the engineers are aware of this. I bet they're working on it, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's a difficult problem to solve in a way that prioritizes safety and durability while also minimizing the space it takes up. But that's a really good question. That's something that is important, I'm sure. All right, Road Trip Lover. Yeah, we got some more questions. Thank you for bringing them in. Anybody who has a question, feel free to pop it in there and I'll do my best to answer. I'm pretty familiar with these products. Can the unit be used when on its side and when standing, or only in upright position? The unit can be used on its side, and if you want more information about the acceptable mounting orientations and operation orientations for this, you can check out the manual. You can download the manual for all of these right now online, and there will be more information there, but it is not required to be used in only this orientation. There are more additional outlets, and there is a lot more utility. Another question, how many years is the unit expected to last? You mentioned a payoff in your case in about 8 years. Well, the unit comes with a 5-year warranty to start with. The batteries on the inside of the unit are lithium iron phosphate batteries, and those are EV grade batteries that are rated to a minimum of 3,000 full discharge cycles. So to put that in perspective, the units at my house, they seldom do a full cycle in a day. They will usually discharge around 40, they will discharge to a point of 30 to 40% remaining. And you can also manually set the threshold that they discharge down to as well. So that means that, over every 4 days, I'll get the equivalent of like 3 full discharge cycles, roughly somewhere in there. So if it's good for 3,000 cycles, that means I'll probably get, 4,000 days of use out of that device before I have only 80% of the original battery capacity remaining. So we will have lost 20% of our battery capacity. Well, 4,000 days is going to be, roughly 11 years. And, that's really going to vary depending upon how well you take care of this unit. When you're extrapolating that far out, keeping this unit in a climate controlled, low temperature or low humidity environment is definitely going to help. 70 degrees is where this wants to live, and that's definitely going to help you maximize the life of the battery chemistry. The inverter section and all of that, it should last a very long time. I have inverters from other companies that were not near as nice as what Anker puts into their products that have lasted me 10 years. And it really just comes down to operating them, keeping them clean, and in environments that, are climatically maintained in a very narrow window of, you know, say 60 to 80 degrees for optimum longevity. But there's going to be a video that I'm making that's going to explain the proper best care and maintenance practices for the F3800 Plus and other Anker SOLIX products. But you know, I think expecting a useful life of, you know, 10 years is pretty realistic given the numbers that we have, which are pretty reliable because at this point lithium iron phosphate battery technology is a pretty well-known variable. You know, it's in a lot of EVs. It's the main battery used by Tesla and most modern EV makers now. Using the generator adapter into the home power panel, can the original F3800 be used on the home power panel, not directly into the F3800? Let me make sure I understand that. Using the generator adapter into the home power panel, can the original F3800 be used on the home power panel? That's a really good question, and I don't believe you get the same functionality in terms of the ability to have it be pass-through power compatible. And that is, you know, that's unfortunate, but that is kind of the main advantage and upgrade of the F3800 Plus is that ability to use pass-through power when it's connected to a generator. So as far as I know, the only way to unlock all of the benefit of the generator adapter cable and what that brings is to use it with an F3800 Plus, and that is all it's compatible with. Now, if you don't have the generator adapter cable, but you already have a home power panel with an original F3800 and you want to add an F3800 Plus to it, that's just fine, and it will be totally compatible. It's really only when it comes down to generator usage that you cannot mix and match so easily. So, but that's a great question, and I appreciate you asking for some clarification on that. Real quick, I want to go ahead and answer a few questions that we had from the group, and then once those are answered, we'll go ahead and wrap things up with a few more questions from everybody tuning in out there online. Question that we had here is the Anker SOLIX generator input adapter compatible with the original F3800 Anker SOLIX? And the answer to that, as I was saying earlier, is no. Another question we have is, what is the length of the Anker SOLIX generator input adapter? And so this adapter here is 6.6 feet long. So roughly 6.5 feet long. 2 meters is what we have. Another question we have is, can I buy the generator input adapter cable and connect it to the home power panel port of the F3800, and will it cause any damage? And the answer to that is it's not supported. It will not damage the devices, but it won't work. So there we go. What precautions should be taken before using the generator input adapter for the first time? So really, it has to be directly connected to the F3800 Plus for the first time there. And you want to make sure that you have the most current firmware installed on your F3800 Plus. And you really want to make sure that the generator input adapter is set up in a way where it's got a secure connection to your generator. It's far away from, you know, anywhere people will be, so that you're not subjected to fumes like that, and that the generator itself is capable of outputting enough power to power any devices that you'll have connected. Thanks to pass-through power, you know, those will be passed right onto the generator. And if you try to run 4,000 watts of load off a generator that can only support 3,000, it's not going to work. So you want to make sure that at the very least you're meeting that requirement. And then if you want to charge the batteries on top of that, you'll need additional capacity in your generator's output. So if you meet all those things, you should be good to go. You'll enter in the generator input or output information into the app when you connect for the first time, and that should have you up and running right from there. Another question, I just purchased the F3800 not long ago, and now you've released the new F3800 Plus. I feel this is not a good user experience. So you're bummed out if you just bought the original one. Well, first, don't dismay, because not all use cases will benefit from upgrading to the F3800 Plus. Okay, if you don't take advantage of the solar inputs, for example. If you are using it really just as a backup solution that's not connected to a solar array, that's there taking use of time of use metering or something like that to maximize your savings, you're not going to benefit at all from any of the features that the F3800 Plus brings. Similarly, if you're not planning on charging with a 240 volt generator or another 240 volt source, you're also not going to really experience any of the benefits that this has to offer. This really is going to benefit people the most who want to maximize their ability to charge from the sun. If you're in a really off-grid setting where this is your only source of power, is the F3800 Plus and the panels you have connected, that's when you'll really benefit, especially with the ability to then charge much more rapidly while powering loads using a generator, and that's something that you would really encounter in a primarily off-grid experience. So unless you're in those cases, I think you should be very happy with what you have. Now, if you're not, and you really want to upgrade, here is what we have that can make the deal sweeter for you. So you can, if you're within the return window, you can return the original F3800 and you can purchase the F3800 Plus at a discounted price of $29.99. So that's $2,999. So it saves you a couple $100 off of the current price. And you will also get the 400 watt solar panel included. And that's really just a token of appreciation so that you don't feel like, you know, everyone over here at Anker SOLIX was trying to pull a fast one on you. We sure wouldn't ever do that. This is just, sometimes products get launched and, you know, they will have to get launched at a certain point in time and maybe you already bought your system. But, you know, nonetheless, it's really going to be up to you to decide what your best value proposition is. And if you're really off-grid, if you really want to use this to incorporate a solar array into your home or to your energy portfolio, then it is probably worthwhile to spend the money upgrading. Otherwise, the original F3800 offers a lot of utility that I think is a great value proposition, even if you were to buy one today. So let's take a look at a couple more questions and then we'll answer a few from the group and we'll pull back in there. Is there any way to get the F3800 Plus for free? I will do anything, make a video, I will review it. And I know Anker really appreciates having all of the people who are interested in this product and want to do reviews. But at this point in time, I think, you know, the standpoint from Anker is that there's already been a lot of people out there making reviews of the product. We've got this video happening right now, and right now we don't need any additional user experience, but we do appreciate that. As a brand ambassador, I can say Anker is a great company to work for. I believe in their products. That's why I work for them. And I'll tell you, I'm probably not going anywhere. So you can't have my spot anytime soon. What are the basic specifications of the Anker SOLIX F3800 Plus? Well, we've already covered this. Battery capacity is 3,840 watt hours. It's got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. It's got a NEMA L1430 240 volt 25 amp port here. It's got a 30 amp 120 volt port for the AC output, in addition to 6 20 amp style conventional AC receptacles. The big differences on the other side of the machine are that we can now accept solar input voltages as high as 165 volts, meaning that we can receive and use up to 3,200 watts of solar compared to 2,400. And we also have an additional expansion port here for connecting to an Anker SOLIX generator that should be coming out this year. So those are the key takeaways of the changes here. The AC output section is 6,000 watts continuous up to 9,000 watts peak at 240 or 120 volts. And here's a question, what are the main uses for 240 volt ports? Well, the big advantage there is it'll integrate into a whole home backup solution much easier because houses are wired with 240 volt panels. It enables high power EV charging, and it can also power high draw larger appliances and power tools. I've been able to run welders. You can run clothes dryers off of this. So it's to enable the powering of larger high draw devices. The last question from the group over there at the Anker SOLIX Facebook group is, will you provide user or installer services for the installation of the home power panel. And right now we're not providing installer services. That is something that if you are interested in the Anker SOLIX or the Anker X1, which is more of a power wall type system, that is a product that we provide installer services and connect you with installers and handle that side of things. We don't offer that with the Anker SOLIX products because these are marketed for a different segment. They're a little more DIY and end consumer friendly, but if you're uncomfortable by that, of course, always hire a professional to install your home power panel or transfer switch or generator interlock kit if that's anything you feel uncomfortable by. All right, so that takes care of the questions that we had over there from the Facebook groups. Again, if you're interested in these products, the Facebook groups are a really great resource to find more information, talk to people firsthand who are doing experimental and creative things with these products. And if you have questions about what their opinions are as far as the best value, that's a great place to go to. And sometimes there are promo codes and links and giveaways that you won't find anywhere else on the internet, but you will get in the Anker SOLIX community over there on Facebook. So check it out. All right, we'll answer a few more questions and then I think we'll probably call it for the day. Thanks again to everybody who's tuned in. This has been a real good time. Okay, what do we got here? Just a quick reminder, if you're tuning in now, from now until this time tomorrow, this is March 19th into March 20th, if you use the promo code F3800 PCK5, you will get a 5% discount on purchases exceeding $3,000 from Anker SOLIX. And that's in addition to the other deals that are happening right now, which include an already lowered price from normal. I think the price right now is $3,199. You can also get a free 400 watt panel if you buy the F3800 Plus now. You can get the generator adapter cable, which I have here, which, as I was mentioning earlier, really unlocks a whole lot of features if you are trying to charge this off of a battery or really any 240 volt source for that matter. You can get that for $49 right now instead of $249. That's a great savings and honestly hardly any money at all to unlock a world of possibility. And then in addition to that, you can also get the transfer switch. If you want to install this and you don't want to use a home power panel, you can get the transfer switch for just $99. I don't know what that normally retails for, but I know it's much more than $99. I can assure you of that. All right, so here we go. So we'll answer a few more questions and then we'll sign off. How does that sound? Travel Diva 2, will it take all of those solar panels behind you to charge this unit up? Well, that's not a question of how many solar panels it will take. It's really a question of how long will it take. So the array behind me is good for 1,600 watts of charging. That is half of what this unit is capable of accepting. The battery bank on this is 3.8 kilowatt hours of energy capacity. Sorry if I fumbled my words there. So if this is recharging at 1.6 kilowatts, it will take roughly 2.5 hours in full perfect sunlight for this to fully recharge the F3800 Plus. Now, full perfect sunlight at an optimum panel angle with no shading and the panel is perfectly clean, that doesn't happen very often out there in the real world, but luckily, if you wanted, you could connect another 4 panels here and that would double the charging input into this. So basically, the formula you're looking for is the battery capacity of the F3800 Plus, which is 3.8 kilowatt hours or 3,800 watt hours, divided by however many watts of solar you're bringing in. So if you're bringing in 400 watts, it would be 3,800 divided by 400, and that'll give you the number of hours it'll take to recharge. The unit will do that math for you when there's incoming charge. It will say how many hours are remaining until it's charged. And if it's running in a discharge state, it will also tell you how many hours are remaining until it's out of battery too. So you don't have to do that math in your head, but hopefully those calculations kind of help you there. Does Anker plan to increase the expansion battery capacity at any point? Not that I'm aware of, although I will say, I mean, you know, the fact that you can connect up to 6 expansion batteries to this and get, off the top of my head, I think it's almost 27 kilowatt hours of battery capacity. That's a lot of battery capacity. If you need more battery capacity than that, you can always add a second F3800 and 6 expansion batteries to that, which would double everything. And at that point, we're talking about over 50 kilowatt hours of battery, which is a huge quantity. That's about half of what you would have in an extended range Tesla. So with that much battery capacity, you could run a large home, you know, depending on what the air conditioning system is. But if you're not running air conditioning, you could run a large home for, I mean, a week or two, you know. So if you need more battery capacity than that, this might not be the best fit for you. You might need to look into something like the Anker X1, which is really designed for those really large, high power systems that are not DIY friendly, that are permanent installs. You know, this is still fundamentally a portable power station. So it can do all of these things, and you can take it with you and go on the road, go camping, you know, take your power with you. That's what sets this apart. You know, if you're looking for a more permanent, really hardcore system with tons of battery capacity, you know, that's where you're going to maybe want to look into the X1, just in terms of matching your mission with the product. The adapter looks comical. Yeah, I mean, but it's a heavy duty adapter. It's going to have a lot of power going through it, and it also has to communicate with the F3800. But it's a heavy duty thing. I mean, everything about it feels solid. I'll say that. Um, The Blue Ghost. I purchased mine on the 13th. Is there any way I can get the 5% discount? I have received some of it, but the rest is still on the way. Excited to get everything hooked up. That's a good question. I would hit up the Anker SOLIX Facebook group and ask in there and see if there is anything that can be done. You know, if you want to keep your original F3800, but maybe you want to get a discount too, and who could blame you? I bet if you talk around in there, you might be able to find some way to get hooked up with that or get some free product. Just judging, I'm not making any promises because I'm I'm not in charge of that, but I know that Anker generally wants to take care of people, so we got your back there. Jason Williams, thanks for the question here. May it be possible to create a video with steps on how to install ground-mounted solar ran into a basement using the local feed option? Yeah, we have, that's a very specific use case. We have some videos coming up that will explain how to wire solar panels, you know, in general. A specific use case like that, I mean, the only thing that is going to be different for you is choosing what type of ground mount array you want to use. And Anker doesn't make one, but there's a lot of options out there. And you'll want to size one specific to the snow and wind load of your local environment for best results. And then as far as the safest way to get that the wires, which now thanks to the new high voltage input, you do not need to bring in nearly as many wires. It's only going to be two wires per 1,600 watts of solar panels into the F3800. So whereas in the past you would need to run all the panels in parallel that go into each half of the charge controller, now you can run all those panels in series that feed each half of the two charge controllers. So that's really great there. If you have any other questions, more specific questions, the Anker SOLIX Facebook group is an awesome resource. And also look into electrical code, you know, literature on how to safely get wires into a basement through a foundation. You'll have to drill a hole through the foundation, and you know, I would recommend installing some watertight junction boxes, you know, on the outside where that pass-through happens. So, all right, I'll answer two more questions and then we'll sign off. Thanks again, everybody, for joining tonight. And one more reminder: the exclusive discount code available today, from now until this time tomorrow, is F3800 PCK5, and that'll get you 5% off any spend of over $3,000 with Anker SOLIX. All right, if pairing the original F3800 with the new F3800 Plus and using the home power panel and disconnecting the F3800 Plus from the home power panel and replacing it with the new generator power cable will only power the load. No, it will not work that way as far as what I've been told from the engineers. I haven't been able to attempt that exact setup myself. What you would want to do is, if you were going to use the generator, you would want to disconnect the original F3800, not the Plus, and plug the generator into the power port that was once occupied by the original F3800. If you have other detailed questions like that, again, the Facebook group is a great resource because some of these questions are involving scenarios that I don't know the answers to off the top of my head, but our community manager, Juliet, who is really active in that Facebook group, she can take these questions and she'll put them out there to the engineers and product managers at Anker SOLIX and get you answers straight from the horse's mouth. And that's something that I think is really valuable because these are very technical machines, right? And understanding exactly how they will perform for you and what their limitations and capabilities are is a key part of making sure that this is going to be an effective solution for your home and life energy needs. You know what I'm saying? Well, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. This is, I was hoping we would be basking in some golden hour sunlight and I could be showing you how much power these panels are bringing in, but alas. I think we made the most of it though, and it was my pleasure to give you an overview of the new Anker SOLIX F3800 Plus and answer some of your questions and address some of the key features and how they can be of benefit to people and your particular use cases. If you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe to the Anker SOLIX channel here on YouTube. Also, I encourage you to join the Anker SOLIX community over there on Facebook. And that's a great way for you to stay up to date on all the latest news and product offerings from Anker, because our goal is to help keep you living in power. So don't go anywhere, and we will see you next time here on Anker SOLIX. My name is Chuck Cassidy. Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully the skies are blue where you're at this evening.